Hi everybody, it's Honest John again. This has been called an anti-establishment election year. The personification of that in the Republican Party is Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. In the Democratic Party, it's Bernie Sanders. But the establishment in the Republican Party is much different than the establishment in the Democratic Party. In the Republican Party, it's the donor class. It's the corporations. It's Sheldon Adelson and the Koch brothers, and hedge fund manager Robert Mercer, and Farris and Dan Wilks, and private equity partner Tony Neugebauer. It's Rupert Murdoch and Fox News. It's big oil and big banks and Wall Street. And something you might not know, it's also big tobacco. Yes, the American tobacco industry gave millions to Americans for Prosperity and the Heritage Foundation, which were the founders of the Tea Party movement. By the way, Robert Mercer, Neugebauer, and the Wilks brothers are Ted Cruz's biggest donors. And Donald Trump, well, he's another billionaire. What this means is that the so-called battle between the establishment and the anti-establishment candidates in the Republican Party is a sham. It is as real as one of those scripted reality shows. If Trump or Cruz win the nomination, the GOP base will crow that they showed the establishment who's the boss. But look at Cruz's backers. He's as much a part of the establishment as Jeb Bush. And Trump, he is the donor class. So no matter who gets the GOP nomination, the establishment will win. But now let's turn our attention to the Democrats' establishment. It's Planned Parenthood, the NAACP, La Raza, the Urban League, the National Organization for Women, and it's the trade unions. All of these so-called establishment groups exist to fight for the rights of the people. They fight for equality for women, for Latinos, for blacks, for workers. And you know, even the Democratic billionaires are way different than the Republican billionaires. Several years ago, you might remember, there was a commercial, an ad that ran that had a bunch of rich people advocating that their taxes be raised. Some of you might remember these tax me ads. Yes, these people are rich, but they recognize that they benefit more from having a big, prosperous middle class than they do from low taxes. That a country where the majority of the people share in its prosperity is more stable and is in fact a better place to do business than a country the Republican donors want. The Republican donors want to take the money from the poor and the middle class. The Democratic donors understand that if the poor and the middle class have money, they'll spend it, and it will eventually find its way to them. So the Democratic donors are very different from the Republican donors, and the Democrat establishment is much different than the Republican establishment. And this is why that anti-establishment feeling does not run as deep in the Democrat Party as it does in the Republicans. And as for the Republican base, even if they win, they lose. Thanks for listening.